Hello everyone. Sorry about the delay. I think there was a bit of a tech glitch. We are just going to get Meghna here as well. Give me 1 second, please. Hello again.
Hi, what's up?
How are you doing?
Good, good, good. All you guys can hear me and see me. All good? Okay.
Everyone who has just joined us, welcome. We will wait a couple of seconds so that whoever has planned this will join us as well. If you can hear us and we are clear audio video, just give us a wave or a thumbs up and we'd really like that.
Hi, Sridhar. Good to see you.
Hello, Sridhar. That's nice. We've got. Oh, thank you, Aditya.
Hi,
Hi,
Monica.
Nishant. Oh, great. Pritika says loud and clear. Hello, Sagar. Sridhar says all clear as well. All right. Shall we begin?
Yes, absolutely.
Amazing.
Thank you so much for having me here. I'm so excited. I missed the Kashish Film Festival and, being there and, just so I'm glad I could do something with you guys, even
We're
if it's an Insta
so
Live.
glad to have you here. Yeah,
Thank
and
you.
we really missed the festival last year, but we were online. But still cannot wait for it to be on ground again.
I know, I know, I know. Well,
So I wanted to first start off with saying Whistling Woods and Kashish have got like a long-standing relationship, and it's so good. So I'm also part of the screening panel, and it's so nice to see the films that come out of the institute. Just we will get to that, of course. But
thank you.
maybe you want to speak a little bit about how the relationship began and how Whistling Woods supports Kashish as well.
Yeah, so first of all, whoever's joined the video, I just want to reach out and say I hope you're well, family is well. These are very difficult times, and I think doing things like that is important as well, so that we can keep our mind off certain, the what is going on in the world right now and around us. And I think the festival itself is going to be amazing, so I'm looking forward to that. I just wanted to say that. Well, I think that when Sridhar approached me, it was like I didn't even have to think for a minute, because it is something that I've always believed in. I've always believed in inclusion. I've always believed in that everyone should be allowed the fundamental right to love and love who they want. And I think happiness is something that we all strive for in this world, right? And if that makes people happy, I mean, whatever makes one happy, right? All you need in a relationship is love, respect, trust. And I think if that is going to happen between two women or two men or people of different genders, that's absolutely fine. So I think that when Sridhar approached me, I was really excited, because I said, this is amazing, such a wonderful initiative to really take films about the LGBTQIA plus community, and really bringing it out there, because we've seen so many festivals happen, but this was really unique.
Yeah.
So I was very excited about being part of this, and I've enjoyed every moment of it, for sure.
Thank you. We have the emerging film makers panel that Whistling Wood supports, which is great because it's really nice to have voices come out and talk about their work, a
Yeah.
platform to actually find out more about filmmakers and their processes as well as their thoughts
Yes.
around it, which actually brings me to what we're going to be talking about today is how. So media schools, as you know, Whistling Woods is one of the top 10 even in the world. Media schools are they forge the next generation of filmmakers, which means all of the content we consume, we have access to, are pretty much being created by the minds that are in facilities like Whistling Woods. So,
Right.
how how do you mold? Technical skill is one, of course, but how is it that you mold minds or create spaces where they can explore concepts, explore
Yeah.
ideas, work with conflicting ideas as well? How do you do that at Whistling Woods?
Yeah, so I think when we started, one of the first things that we decided very early on was that we were going to be a school that was going to be encouraging a lot of creativity in students, a lot of freedom of thought, letting them
Yeah.
decide what kind of stories they want to tell, not really force a certain idea on them. And so from the beginning, when we started selecting our faculty and started talking to them and started doing faculty sessions, this was always part of our pedagogy. So we always said that we were always going to have a curriculum and a teaching teaching faculty who would encourage each student to find their own individuality and their own mind almost, right, through the medium of film. Of course, today Whistling Woods is a creative arts institute, not just film. So we do a lot more than just film.
Yeah.
And I think that really has added to more creativity, more ideas. So we have an amazing fashion design program. We have a visual communication design program, event school, music. And I think that all the students from all areas come together and collaborate and discuss various ideas and really are able to make beautiful films like some of the ones that you saw. So I think that the more, the creative departments and the more energy that we infuse in the students to be able to do their independent thought in terms of creativity, I think that really leads to what you were talking about really having the ideas flow through in these students.
Yeah. So do you all have anything in particular that sort of brings out conflict? So we spoke before, we were talking about how even talking about heteronormative relationships, sex, that itself is so behind closed doors and questionable in social structures,
Yeah,
let alone in public spaces.
right.
And when we're going to college, it's that time, right? You're discovering so much about yourself, about the world around you, about what you've been told, and just questioning that and trying to discover more about the world around you.
Yeah,
And educational institutes play a damn big role in
true.
enabling that sort of discovery.
Absolutely.
So, do you have structures or spaces whereby the students can come and, because there's the creative aspect, there's the tech aspect, there's also the human aspect,
Yes,
can come
yes.
together and just discover themselves and the work that they are looking to make?
Yes, absolutely. So when we first started, we were actually just purely a film school, like I said, and we had a lot of
Yeah.
mature students. And over time, we've got students who are 18-year-olds because we are now affiliated with universities so that we can offer degrees. So we have students who are from 18 to whatever age, but the bulk of our campus is filled with students between 18 to 25. A lot of these students are looking to find their own identity, to find out who they really are. And, while through the I mean, we've been up and running since 2006, and since then we've always, through film appreciation, through gender sensitization workshops, almost every term, we've been really sensitizing students about gender issues. Yeah, so that has
Yeah.
always been part of their curriculum. In classroom discussion, there's always an open discussion with our faculty. So we've had amazing faculty. Everyone who knows Whistling Woods knows that our faculty are all rock stars who just really, really built the school, with so much passion and devotion. And I feel that they are the ones who, in these classroom discussions, which our classrooms are pretty small actually, so that we can really have a good
That
discussion
helps.
there.
Yeah.
Does help in creative schools especially, and I think that that's where the students learn to have their own voice. Yeah, so besides from that, we also got students to volunteer to in a lot of kind of NGO projects and do a lot of things to do with various conflicts that the society faces, because a lot of these kids may come from various backgrounds. They don't really get exposure to reality,
Yeah.
and for filmmakers and creative people, it's very important for them to have that exposure so they can tell those stories. um,
Yeah.
Recently, a few years ago, the faculty and students came up with this initiative called the Q Hut. So, and they came to me with this whole presentation, and I was like, "Listen, you had me at slide one." So amazing idea that they wanted to talk about issues faced by the queer community in the campus, and also to be able to invite students who were not sure and who just wanted to kind of have an closed door meeting with a few people who they could trust. And that went off so beautifully that we started having these sessions with faculty and our counselor and some other students, and they would just talk, just open their heart
Yeah.
out. And I think that really made the campus um, vibrant in that sense, because I could sense the freedom in the students after we started this Q Hut initiative. So I feel like little things like that really help, because that really sends a message out to the students that the management, the faculty, we're all open and they can trust us with whatever they want to talk about.
Yeah, that's actually pretty incredible, because to create that space where students can come in and talk about I wouldn't say issues, just what's going on in their minds and what they want to grapple with, and the fact that they came up and said, hey, we would like this space, I think is quite something. You mentioned about faculty. What role do you think faculty plays in all of this? Because, I mean, we leave parents behind, we go to the institute, you're down looking at faculty, you're looking at your peers, and Whistling Words again has a diverse range of people coming in, right? Socioeconomically, culturally, mindset-wise. So it's like a little microcosm of India in a way within that film school, trying to make meaning and at the same time reflect that meaning, right? It's tough. What role does faculty play? How does that...
And I'm so glad you mentioned that, because, you know, we always get that typical stereotypes that Whistling Words, it's an expensive school, must have only, you know, a certain kind of kids. But it's amazing how we've seen students from all small towns, you know, and in fact, most of our students take student loans, you know, because they want to really study film. And I think it's amazing to see them come from all over the country and all over the world, from different economic backgrounds, like you said. They also come from conservative backgrounds. So for them, you know, it is important for us to also not let them have a culture shock when they get to Bombay. So faculty plays a huge role in this. Yeah, and I have to say that it's actually all them. I can support them. I can absolutely, you know, stand behind them and say, yes, we're going to support you in whatever you decide. But it's the faculty that I really have so much gratitude for, because each and every faculty of Whistling Woods has so much compassion for each student. You know, sometimes we end up fighting with each other because we're like fighting over a student, that, you know, what is the best thing for the student. And I think that really shows how much we care and how much the faculty cares. So I feel they have the biggest role to play in this, to let the students feel that they can trust them, they can tell the stories they want to tell, and they can be who they are. They don't need to change for anyone.
Do you think in spaces like this, there's conflict exists irrespective? You know, there is no dearth of conflict. It is what film and our stories are even tethered on. But how would conflict be resolved? Is, like you said, they come from different cultural backgrounds. And again, the reason I focus so much, and we are focusing on media schools particularly, is you have a certain assumption of what your life needs to look like, what kind of work you need to produce, but also what kind of person you need to be, which gets driven a lot by the media narrative that's already there, but also the zeitgeist at the moment. Like right now, there is a lot of the narrative about we have the language, we have vocabulary to talk about how we feel, setting out boundaries, all of that comes in. And I mean, you know this already, the kids, 18-year-olds today, whole other access to language is beautiful. How does that play out in, because you've seen that growth take place, you've seen the students come in. What do you have to say about that?
You know, it's not easy keeping up with them, for sure. It helps that I have teenage daughter at home a little bit, not much, because she doesn't talk as much. But I think that each one of us, you know, are very fortunate to be having this campus environment, right? So we can actually connect with students and really help understand the conflicts that they are going through, understand, you know, and really be empathetic towards what they are actually, you know, facing at that point. So we provide a really good support system for them. We have qualified counselors on campus. So sometimes, you know, we are not qualified to talk to them about certain things, but the counselor is. And even through the pandemic, through 2020, we've had online classes, and we've actually had our counselors busier than ever because of the problems that the kids are really the ones, students who really want to be on campus, they want to make films, they want to work on their music, and they are in the lockdown at home. So I think they are the ones who are suffering the most. So it is, my heart goes out to each one of them. But yeah, so I think that yeah, it is there. Conflict is there. It is difficult to resolve. But I think if you have, if you have a way to deal with students, if you know that you can give them a proper support system, you're able to accomplish that.
Nice. I like that they're the two main things that come out at the moment. One is, of course, faculty, and the other is counseling. Like, we're talking about infrastructure here that enables students, and here I'm just going to be specific for LGBTQI students as well, because there are very few spaces. There are very few spaces that feel safe, that you don't even know how you want to test out, not what sort of response is going to be there, and it feels very, very big at any point in time, especially when you don't have support around. How do peer networks work at Whistling Woods, like or even like in media schools as a whole? We can just say, because there's infrastructure and then there is the informal structure of it. And do you see them as working together? How would what would be your ideal?
So one of the things about the film and entertainment industry is, and I've grown up in it, so I've seen that it's always been inclusive. Even through the 60s, 70s, 80s. Not that I was alive in the 60s, 70s, but 80s that I did see 80s and 90s. It has always been a very inclusive. Whether it's caste, gender, sexuality, didn't matter. Everyone worked together, right? And I think that culture kind of carries forward. Media film school and a media school. I also think that so before, when we launched QHeart, for example, we arrange for these so we always have these master classes, okay, which are like larger than life in our big auditorium of 250. In fact, we've had a Kashish panel and film festival there as well. And what we did was we brought out our faculty and staff who actually belong to the LGBTQIA community on stage as a masterclass. And we had our counselor or a student on stage talking to them about their journey, how they started out.
Oh my gosh,
it was outstanding. It was outstanding, and it was everyone. All the kids were there, whether they were, whether they were gay or not, they were all there. They were all appreciative of it. They asked a lot of questions. They were so empathetic, and I think those real stories that came out from people's heart when they spoke about how they came out and how their parents were supportive. I think everybody looks at the stereotype that maybe the dad was really angry, and we had some of our staff who came out and said that no, actually my dad was really supportive of it, and it was my mom who was a little bit reserved, but my dad was okay with it. And I think all these kind of things really opened the hearts and minds of students too. So what you're saying about peers, I think that really broke through. And that was one of the ideas, that we wanted everyone to see that this is normal. It's okay, guys. We have to work together, and we have to really create together. And I think that really helped. So the whole entire QHeart drive that we did, and we will continue doing it when we get back to campus. It was really a good initiative, and I would really urge every media institute, or every institute, why just media, to do it. I think it's really important.
And what I love about the notion of QHeart is just pure representation, not further away from you, but within your own circles.
Absolutely.
It takes away the feeling that you're all alone and fighting this large, magnanimous battle by yourself, and to say, hey, actually, there's other people, and they have different stories from what you're used to hearing. And this reflects in the work that's produced as well, right? Like you said, now it's not just film, it's also the larger creative arts, and Shikhandi is a film that we're programming this year. Do you want to talk a little bit about Shikhandi?
The film is absolutely wonderful. You've seen it, I think, and it's really really good. And I think students have been working on various projects. So we have a lot of films that students have made on the subject, but it really has come out so well. And I think two of the actors are from Whistling Woods, the rest are from outside. So it was also nice that the students' direction and producing students could get actors from outside to work in the film as well. And and I think this is how we can really tell the world the kind of stories that are coming out of Whistling Woods and coming out of young kids. I'm also very proud that that all those years of gender sensitization workshops and really really encouraging students to really be able to feel free to make any film that they make, has actually come out in Shikandi as well. So yeah, I'm
You
really
make
proud
a
of them.
really important point right now, in fact, when you say all of these years of gender sensitization has now, like, it's a journey, right? It's
It
not
is.
like,
It is.
Asha, we will do one workshop and tell
Workshop and
you
it'll
these
happen.
what these
Absolutely not.
it'll happen.
Yeah.
Here are these alphabets, here's what they mean, now go ahead, you are empowered. No, it's a
Yeah.
journey, it's a back and
Yeah,
forth.
yeah. And you have to be persistent. You have to be consistent in your thought. It's not like a PR activity that you do that, okay, you know what, I want to look good, so let me just do this for PR. No, you
Yeah.
have to do it consistently because you really do care about what you're talking about and the subject that you want your students to really grasp.
Is it must be challenging. Like, what are some of the toughest challenges you face by trying to incorporate a space that's diverse and inclusive at Whistling Woods at least, and then you can, yeah.
I don't know. I don't think it's been that challenging. I think that
Yeah?
we are a very young team. We, all of us, and even the older faculty are very young at heart. And I think that they all understand. And like I said, generally in film, from the film industry, people are very inclusive. They don't really
Yeah.
discriminate. And a lot of the so we work very closely with an organization called Ladli, and they generally do a lot of gender sensitization
Yes.
workshops. And when they started their program and their drive, they realized that ad films were using stereotypes like one boy and a girl, right? Like one boy, one girl in a family.
Yes.
And when they did this work to tell filmmakers,
Yeah.
listen, you don't have to show one boy, one girl. You can show one girl or two girls, or one boy. Like, you don't have to. And I remember Dr. Sharda telling me that actually the filmmakers themselves had not realized. It was just
Yeah.
that little bit of nudging that was required, and after that, a lot of it stopped. So I feel like the whole media, creative film industry is very open-minded when it comes to things like that. So I personally haven't seen any conflict at Whistling Woods. Being a private institute, it helps.
Yeah.
Our university partners, Tata Institute of Social Sciences, which again works very, very hard on
Yeah.
these kind of issues. So we've had no issues at all. In fact, they're so encouraging about it. So it's been great.
It is so good to hear this, because so often we focus on, what are the challenges, what is the fight, how do we get to fight better, and there are fights, there are lots of fights, lots of battles to be made and won. But it's relieving to know that some things don't have to be pushed so much, and if, like, there's consistency and perseverance, then that's good enough at one point. I'm going to shout out to all of the people who have joined us and see if you guys have any questions. Please shoot it out, and I think Meghna would be happy to answer them.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us. And yeah, if you have any questions, happy to answer.
Whilst we wait for some of that, if there were three things, okay, say I'm going to start a media school, or we have a large table of media schools here, some work in this format, some don't. What would you say would be the top three things to do to enable a culture that's inclusive, that speaks of diversity, that honors diversity, and is conducive to people from the LGBTQI community, as well as people wanting to tell stories, LGBTQI content? What would you say?
I think you just have to lead by example. I think that when I first accepted the invitation from Kashish, I did have a couple of people look at me, think that, are you, because they didn't know I was married, and they thought maybe I was gay, and I was like, no, I'm married, and yeah, it's fine, so what, can I not support Kashish? So it was that notion, and I think that you just lead by example. You speak, you walk the talk, right? And that's when your the culture in any organization builds like that. Yeah. So it's not just an institute, but any organization, it is what the leader or the person at the top, at the helm, does, and that's how you kind of get it out there.
Yeah. So Sridhar actually has a very interesting question, which is, what is the way forward when a student approaches with an LGBTQIA subject? So, is there when people want to make certain films, is there an application or an approval process? And if so, what happens if it's an LGBTQI content film?
So there's no difference. All students pitch, yeah. So there is a pitch. So the thing with Whistling Woods is that we wanted the students to be trained to be commercial filmmakers, and by that I don't mean make films that are just going to be like cinema, that like big blockbuster Bollywood
mainstream
film,
and only
mainstream.
yeah.
I mean, like, even if you whatever story you're telling, just make sure that you have made a little bit of profit, and you've paid the people around you, and and the rest is extra. So it's very important for them to be conscious about the fact that if they're spending money on a film, they need to make sure it comes back. So we've always followed that. So that is the reason why we have to do pitches. The kids have to come in, they have to do pitches, they have to pitch their story, they have to pitch their script, they have to pitch their budget to us, and there's a team of people who analyze, acts like devil's advocate, and then scrutinizes it. But there is no special application for somebody who wants to make a film on any subject. That's fine, it's up to them. And trust me, students have made quite a few all sorts of films that we would never kind of make or watch, but you know what, it's their film and they're allowed to.
Yeah, and that's why the pitch is important. But just this itself, and to make it profit, like to make that profit and to know your budget, such an important resource, and so so necessary. So that is there.
Thanks, Bishop. Shout out to Bishop, because he's just commented, and Bishop is the one who came up with that presentation to me about Q-Hut. So thanks, Bishop. It's all thanks to you. Yeah, he's our Mr. Inbox, right, Bishop? Is that what you were? He won one of our things as well at our like our institute festival. So yeah.
And how long has Q-Hut been around on campus?
You know what? I have actually lost track of
have
time. Last 1 year, but I think 2-3 years. Bishop, 2-3 years? Yeah, he's saying yeah.
Yeah, he's saying that.
So.
Nice. So yeah, I have
filmmaker be put in touch with an NGO. Sorry, Sridhar,
like,
what do you mean?
I think he means like, does a filmmaker need to be put in touch with an NGO when creating work? Sridhar, is that what? Okay, Bishop saying it's 2 years.
Yeah.
Maybe Sridhar, you want to
elaborate on that?
What you are saying?
Yeah, we don't understand.
Do students work with a lot of organizations outside just to What sort of
so we have a CSR. We have a CSR department. We work with a lot of organizations. We get students to volunteer, from beach cleanup to helping the elderly. Like the music students have gone and sung and performed songs for the elderly. So all sorts of things that the students get up to. But part of our School of Media and Communication program is for them to work with NGOs and to be able to make even producing. So I just had a class on CSR with the producing students, and so they are given a project on how to make PSA, so a public service advertisement for an NGO. How do you pitch it? How do you raise funds for it? So for that, they have to work very closely with NGOs to understand their mission. And one of the things that I said to the students in my session was that, please understand the mission and the vision of the NGO from the bottom of your heart. Do your research, because only when you're passionate about it, then you will be able to make a good film. You don't have to spend millions of rupees or whatever. You don't have to spend thousands of rupees. You can make it from your iPhone, but it could really touch somebody's heart if you really feel for the cause. So.
This, in fact, inadvertently answers Sridhar's question, which is if they have a certain subject to know better, do you go to an NGO and you do? This is an interesting aspect for LGBTQIA content as well, because you say you do master classes. Are there also interaction spaces where people not to understand NGOs and how the PSAs could work, but also how can these conversations between people happen? Because it's very nuanced, right? It's very intangible. It's very airy in a way, and you have to try and understand that experience and try and communicate it. So do people go, are there organizations they work with? Do they meet? Do they have brainstorming sessions about a particular topic? because it's
Yeah,
there's a technical aspect and there's the
of
creative
course,
content of it.
emotional. Yeah, absolutely. So absolutely. So every film that's made, the students put in a lot of effort in terms of their research, in terms of meeting people from the community. Whatever it is, they may be making films on partition or or something
Yeah,
like Shikandi, but they do their research, and that's part of the filmmaking process, right? So whether
yeah.
they make it commercially or whether they make it in film school, the training is exactly the same, so that when they go out, they know that this is what they have to do. So yeah, it's absolutely, those conversations are important. Sometimes they happen very confidentially. Sometimes they happen in a larger group, so the faculty can organize a session, or a couple of sessions with people from different areas of life, or and they organize that, and then get the students to kind of learn more.
Nice.
But like I said,
So
at
we
18,
spoke.
20, kids don't always have the experience, the world experience to know. So it's very important that faculty then steps in and makes sure that they
Yeah.
get the right exposure.
Yeah, I was actually just coming to that because we've spoken about infrastructurally how it works for
Hmm.
how we can enable safe spaces.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, However, when you come from certain backgrounds, sometimes you know or you're used to thinking in a particular way, and if someone wants to, like, say I come from a very conservative background, I've never met a queer person in all of my
Hmm.
life.
Hmm.
What would you say to students coming into a media school who obviously will immediately be like, what's happening over here? How do they do that journey? What would be the advice you would give them? You'll say, we've got faculty, we've got peer reviews, we're giving you, we're creating all this for you,
Hmm.
but you need to come a little bit as well. And
Yeah.
how would you get them? What would you say to them to say, come meet us here?
Yeah, yeah. I think sessions like this help. I think, I won't
Yeah,
really, be talking about this unless you had organized this session. But I think that a lot of our creatives, a lot of what we say in our creatives when we are asking, or when we're announcing our admissions, speak a lot about what we are all about. So our tagline almost is "Do what you love," right? So
yeah,
it's a very important thing for our country, especially because a lot of the parents do want their kids to do something else, or they want to do something that they want to do when they were young, and it's
yeah,
important for that message. It's a very simple message that Steve Jobs left us with, but it's so important to be able to tell each child that, what, you need to find your own identity and you need to do what you love. And I think that just through that simple communication, or just being representative in organizations like Kashish, it helps pass on that message that we are an inclusive community of people. We will encourage you to be yourself when you join us, and I think that's what we do. I don't think we have to go out of our way to kind of
to
shout
do
it on
that. Yeah.
rooftops. I think yeah, subtle things like that help.
That's nice. So Raya actually has a very good question,
Mm.
backed by Sridhar. So he's just like, we need more same-sex loving women, about
Mm.
genderqueer persons. Just we need more LGBTQIA content by
Mm.
itself, like, as much as
Mm.
we can get. My
Mm.
question is, do you think having a mandatory session or a
Mm.
project on
Mm.
LGBTQIA content is needed by media institutions as a whole?
Yeah.
Because not everyone enables gender sensitization. Not
Mm.
everyone has this infrastructure or even
Mm.
thinks about it or its necessity.
Mm.
How do you feel about that?
So a session, absolutely, but I don't think with this generation anything can be mandatory when it comes to making anything. Okay, so I don't think I can enforce that or force them to do any of that. But and
If
that's what we
only.
stand for. And that's what
Yeah,
we stand for. We stand for
yeah,
freedom, and letting them do what they want to do. But yeah, encouraging them when they come up with subjects like that, really encouraging them to make it, is what we already do. I'm always telling students to make films for separate different causes, because that Shrida's next question about showcasing it and really
yeah,
letting them go out there. So I think, if
yeah,
students just took a little bit of feedback from us, or you know people from an NGO or an organization that wants such content, then I think that content could really come up well for us to promote it in various areas like social media or cinema halls, etc.
yeah.
But fortunately or unfortunately, film students want to make their 10-minute final film which has to be like this amazing blockbuster film. So
Blockbuster.
so it's difficult to convince them to always listen to us, but I think they are getting there. And Whistling Woods does a lot to kind of support them in their films. We send them to different festivals, they actually make it to various festivals and get a lot of awards and appreciation. We also have a YouTube channel, Whistling Woods Films YouTube channel. So all our student films are there, and we have a separate team looking at curating those films and making sure we get views for them. We also had really good news in 2020 where Hotstar actually took a bunch of our films and put it as a channel on their
Nice.
OTT platform, and they got such an amazing response that they took more of our films and put it there. So I think that the good films will definitely find a way, because people want content, and short content is right now really in demand. So I think that given that Whistling Woods promotes good quality cinema, sensitive cinema, and I think that word is spreading. A lot of the OTT platforms do realize that, and they want our content, which is great news, right? So it's just the start of being able to promote a lot more films of our students.
And it's a chicken and egg situation. It's if content is available, people will see more of it and then want more of it. But if it's not available, they don't really know what they can have access to. Which brings me to this next question here by Nishant. Pretty fab. How do you think we can promote more LGBTQI writers to share their work widely? Which is a biggie. I think even with most writers, it's always like, where do we get good writing? How do we find good scripts? I think that's a gold question.
Yeah, but
how do we empower them to share their stories?
Yeah, but I think that even here, why discriminate, right? Like, so it should be open to everybody equally. And what we are doing is, especially for writing, because, we have our 3-year degree program for writing, but we've seen that students or people who are more mature or already working and want to do creative writing, they don't have the time because they're in jobs or, they're busy. So with screenwriting especially, we have a lot of options for students to pick up. So we do, right now we're launching a series writing course on our virtual academy, which is our online filmmaking program, and in that every weekend we're going to have classes in screenwriting. Starts on May 1st. So everybody can apply for it, and once you apply, you also get access to Whistling Woods faculty. If you write a script, you get advice on that. So I think that there are a lot of perks of getting attached to Whistling Woods in these ways as well, if you can't really physically come to campus or do a full 3-year or 2-year program. So there are various options like that, and I think that everyone can join in. Sorry, he's saying I don't think it is discriminating, but I feel that can tell. Yeah, absolutely.
Of course.
Yeah. And I think it's just that they have to come forward and do these courses and learn, the skill of writing, and then they'll be able to really tell their stories, the way they're meant to be. Because there is certain technicality involved in script writing, which people don't seem to always understand. They feel that, creativity is all from the heart, whether it's art, whether it's acting or screenwriting. I can just write a poem and I'm a writer, but there is technicality involved, and you need to learn. You need to learn to kind of be able to write your scripts.
Yeah, this is great. Thank you. So it's also good to know that there are all of these platforms available that people can access, and a lot more that can be done. Do you feel like there's been a change in how inclusivity for queer folk was there before to now? Have you seen some sort of trajectory over the years?
I think definitely. I think like I said, this generation is something else, and they're not really worried about what people think of them, and they want to really be able to live their own lives at their own terms, and I think that's amazing. So that gives them the courage to really stand up. That gives them the courage to really, tell the truth. And I feel that's a huge change, isn't it? Like, to be able to really just be able to come out and say, what, this is what I want to do. This is who I am, and let me be. And I think we've seen also in content, we've seen Made in Heaven, and we've seen a lot of these mainstream commercial. I mean, now I think that must release their 4-film thing, right? Ajib Dastans, right? So in whatever way, and people may like it, not like it, but I think it's very important that they're sharing such stories. In fact, I must mention that the story about the LGBTQ issue was directed by our alumni Shashank Khaitan. for Dharma. So I think, you know, and that makes me so proud, because that was one of the films that I did see. And I think that's so amazing that, you know, he actually made that film, because it was handled very sensitively and acted out really well as well. So I think that, you know, mainstream commercial films earlier, there was so much stereotype, and people would make fun of, you know, the transgender, and it would be always in a comic role. And today in films, we see it shown much better. Yeah, I know. I think even that has changed, but even that has come a long way to Ajib Dastans, and, you know, really showing it sensitively, which is nice.
Yeah. Thank you. I think do you think we've got a long way to go, or we just like, we stick consistently and it will run its course, and we'll,
I think persistence, consistency, and just like keep going, you know, don't give up on this at all. All of you guys who are doing such a wonderful job at Kashish, I think we need to keep going. This online thing is amazing. I feel it was so easy to say, okay, you know, let's not do the festival this year, because it's because, you know, we can't meet on the ground. But I think it's so amazing that the team has put up the festival again, and 2 years in a row now. So it's great.
Yeah. So for everyone who's also tuned in, thank you for joining us. Thank you, Meghna, for this lovely conversation. Please follow Kashish Film Fest for updates about the festival, and register. We look forward to and watch the films. Like, wait till they get out. You'll love them.
Yeah. Amazing. Thank you so much, Bhagi. It was lovely talking to you.
Lovely speaking with you
for
as well,
having
Meghna.
me. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.